Welcome. I'm Pam Laricchia from livingjoyfully.ca, and today I'm here with Jessica Kane. Hi, Jessica. Hi. So we have been connected online for a couple of years now, including the Childhood Redefined Summit, and now the Living Joyfully Network. And I really enjoyed getting little glimpses into your family's lives. And all that is to say, I'm super excited to connect with you here and learn even more about your unschooling journey. So to get us started, can you share with us a bit about you and your family and maybe a little bit about what everyone's into right now?
Yeah, so I'm American and I came to Ireland, where I live now, on a kind of a semester abroad with the college that I was going to. I grew up in Michigan, and this was my first stop on my European tour. It was the last stop on my European tour. And I've gone other places since then, but the tour never took place. I stayed here and I met my husband, and it was not the intention, as so few things are. And we've just been here for 23 years. I've been here. It's crazy to think about. It's so long. I've been here longer. I moved here when I was 20, so I'm here longer than I've been in America, which is it kind of messes me up. I'm like, am I still from there? I don't know, So we're here and we have 3 kids and all doing super fun things. We live on the west coast of Ireland, and it's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I love it. For a while I wanted to go back home, and I thought, I want my kids to see how I grew up. And it's just so amazing here. I don't have those feelings anymore. This is where we are. This is where we are rooted. It's just, and the kids don't feel that way either. They're like, no, we're from here. This is where we're from. And I love that so much that they feel that way. It's such a beautiful place, such a special place here in the west of Ireland. And let's see what we're all up to. Well, I'm up to many things, and I don't know, so many things. I'm a kinesiologist, and I am a pranic healer. I am a vegan, and I do a vegan food blog with my sister, it was her idea. She said, you give me the recipes, I'll do the blog part. I said, perfect. So she does that every month, and it's so fun. It's just really fun. And I started getting into organic growing. I have a polytunnel, like a greenhouse, and I call it my farm. And I have to go down to the farm every day, and it's amazing. And I had a small little one, and now I have a much bigger one. And thanks to lockdown, and my husband needed things to do, so he built it, and it's wonderful. So, and I don't really know that much about what I'm doing. I mean, I research a bit, but you don't really know till you do it. So now I kind of know, okay, well, these vegetables would be better over on this side, and this one would be better over here. And it's just, it's so freeing, because I would have been, like a really big perfectionist for a long time. And if I wasn't going to do it right, I didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. Where now I'm kind of just putting stuff on the ground and going, well, I hope it goes. And if it doesn't, like if I don't get potatoes, that's okay. Whereas before it just would have been devastating. So it's nice to see my own growth along the way too. And I love hiking, and I love traveling, and yeah, that's me pretty much. I was the biggest one, the kids. I love being with the kids. I love being home with the kids. I love seeing what they're doing and watching what they're doing and watching them, in their triumphs and their not so triumphant moments, because that's where the real learning is. And it's huge. And then I get to learn as well. It's fascinating. And I love it so much. Let's see, my husband, James, oh my gosh, he does all the things. all of the things there are to do, he does them all. So I'm so serious. He started as an electrician, and he is also a qualified plumber. He can install solar panels and solar tubes. He can install gas and refrigeration gas. And those are the things that he just does. But he loves windsurfing. He loves trail running. He loves mountain running. And the best part about all of that, he loves adventure races where you run up a mountain and you go on a bike for too long, and then you got a kayak or you got to swim, and it's like, okay, he loves this. But the best part, my favorite part about that, is that he's a real competitive person, and I like to hike. I am not in a hurry. And this hiking has only come later in my life because I've watched him for so many years be so competitive. And I don't like that. I don't want to be competitive. I don't want to go fast. I want to go at my own pace and do my own thing. So it was only after a while I was kind of like, oh, I don't have to do it that way. I can do it my own way. But he is super, super competitive, but he's competitive with himself. You know, he has a lot of friends and they're all into this and they all love doing this and that. And whereas if somebody does, you know, a couple minutes faster than him or gets a little, you know, more speed than him, and they're all on their watches and they're on the computer and they're, you know, everything's mapped out, and he will see that and he'll be like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. And he never has any sort of like, oh, like upset with somebody because it makes him push himself. And he's really supportive of them. Like, oh, you should have seen so-and-so's time. They did so well. And oh, I'm going to try it tomorrow. And so I've really learned a lot from him. He's amazing. He's very much competitive, but with himself. And I think there's something really great there about, you know, being really, really supportive of everybody else who's doing it. And then thinking, well, I came in this place this time. And I wonder if I did this, now I could come in a different place. And it's never trying to get ahead of anybody, just trying to get ahead of himself. So it's really, I love watching that. Let's see what else. Roisin, she's our oldest. She just turned 21. She also loves the mountain running and the hiking and running. She and James have gone off since we've been in lockdown. They've been doing a lot of training together. And they're loving it. They love it. They both are so good. They've got this big thing planned where they're going to have to, I think it's called orienteering, where they have to look at maps and compasses, and it's a 24-hour thing. They're going to have to sleep out. I don't know. I'll be at home. That's where I will be, and cheering them on. I'm the big cheerleader. That's where I go. And people say to me, are you going to do this? Yeah, I'll be at the end. I'll be clapping. That's what I do. Yeah, that's her. She is also a vegan. She's very much into animal rights, and the big Black Lives Matter movement right now is really, I mean, she was into that already, but it's really spurred her on, and very much into equal rights and climate change and all of those things, and learning as much as she can about that. She's very, very passionate about those topics. She is also an actor. So she went to school she went all the way through school. No one's schooling for her. And then she went to college, but college was not a good fit. And she, you know, finished there, and she has been working ever since. She's had a few jobs, and she had a few jobs lined up, but now we're on lockdown. So that's all kind of postponed. But since then, she might have a few more in the pipeline. But she's also, because she's very, very much like James, she she did some theater acting, she's done some film stuff, and she is now writing her own short film and making lists of who she needs to talk to and what equipment she needs. And of course she has friends now who, through all of her contacts, mm-hmm. And so there's a story she wants told, and she wants it told her way, and she's doing it. And with Roshan and James, they're very big energy. When they come into the room, they're there. And so with them, I tend to just get out of the way. Like they come in and they've got plans and they've got ideas, and they are, and don't try and even say, well, I don't know if that'll work. Don't even say that. Because they will. I've so many times I've said, this is not, there's not enough hours in the day, or we can't do all these things. And yeah, there are. I didn't know. I was wrong every time. Okay, just do your thing. So that's them. And Ronan is 15. He is the oldest boy. He is so different. He's very calm. He's very introverted, but he's very introspective. He's very chilled out. He's the most chilled out person. He does not get riled up. Even if something happens that he doesn't like, I'm so amazed by him. He's so calm. He is very much into Japanese games and Japan and the language and learning it. And he loves games. He's a big tech person. It used to be I would call James if something was wrong, and now I call James and he says, well, did you ask Ronan? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. But we ask Ronan now. Yeah. Ronan, anything at all, I'll say, I'll call him. He'll be, I don't know, on a different floor of the house because or like the moment we're in different places. So I'll, Ronan, can you help? I don't know why Netflix isn't working. And he has to come down and he fixes it. And he's so gracious, and he's just the sweetest, kindest being. He really, really does care very deeply about lots and lots of things. And he doesn't talk a lot. He talks when he has something to say. Yeah. And that's so rare in my life, I think, because I tend to blather on a lot. And, I just love that when he has something to say, and when he has something to say, he will tell you. He's not shy about telling you, but he doesn't say anything unless he's really got something to say. He's just very special. Let's see. So yeah, games. He loves consoles. He loves vintage consoles. Mm-hmm. He loves vintage, all the old stuff. He wants to get, whether it works or doesn't work. He loves looking at it and seeing it. He has all the different consoles, and there's a few he is missing and is looking to get. And let's see, what else? Pretty much just gaming, but you wouldn't even know what games he would be playing. He could be playing Animal Crossing and then 10 minutes later playing Grand Theft Auto. He loves them all. He loves all of them. He's not stuck in one genre. He likes the learning ones. He's big into Kerbal Space Program there a while ago.
Oh, Michael.
So fun. And he made a boat. And he made a boat on a space program. And he showed this to me. How are you doing this? So he made this boat, and it was very careful. He had to get it to the water without breaking it. And then it could take off and fly from the water. But he could land on land, or he could land in the water. I don't know. You just keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. And then our little one is 6, Lennon. He is very fun. I say he's like a cartoon character. He's very animated. He's very expressive. He's arms and legs. And when he talks to you, he's talking like this. And he can't stay still. And his face is going, and he's just loves life always. Even if there's something that he is sad about, he's very sad, but it's like the drama of it. He enjoys the drama of being sad about it. He is interesting, and he really likes Lego. And at the moment, he's very much into Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves, he has all of his brothers hand me down Lego. And then his older cousin had a lot of Lego that we inherited. And so he has it all. And one day he will be so into Minecraft. It's the only thing he would die without it. And then the next day he could wake up in the morning and be playing with Jurassic Park Lego or Star Wars Lego or something else and just be so into that. And I like to watch for the transitions, how it happens. And sometimes he's so deeply focused on this one thing. And then he finds a piece that's in the Minecraft that goes to Star Wars. And he remembers, oh yeah, Star Wars. And then he goes and gets the Star Wars toys. And then it's all Star Wars. And I love seeing how their little brains work. But that's us. He loves everything. He just learned how to ride his bike. He had a new bike. He didn't have any training wheels. And I said I'd hang out to the back. And within 15 minutes, he was gone. Mm-hmm. And hasn't looked back since. And he said, I don't need you anymore, Mom. I can do this by myself. Okay. All the words you want to hear, but at the same time, like, oh. So that's awesome. And that's what we're doing. I'm sure I've left out a load of things, but that's just what's here at the moment. So.
Oh, thank you so much. That is such a beautiful little snapshot. And I love the little pieces that you pulled out too. And especially, when you're talking about Lennon there, like seeing the different connections, I could hear that in all, descriptions of everyone, right? All those little pieces and what kind of leads here and what goes here. And it's so fascinating to see through their eyes for a little while, isn't it?
It really is. And I really love that aspect of it, of kind of getting down and being on the level and seeing what he loves and why he loves things. We don't have any pets at the moment, but in Minecraft, he has all the animals. He can't have any more cats because the game won't let him have any more cats. And so he gets the ocelots and he tames them and he's like, oh, it's my cat. So he's filling that need because he really, really loves animals. And we travel a lot. Well, I mean, we've been locked down for a while, but we do tend to travel a lot. I travel back and forth home and I go for several weeks at a time, and it's not really fair on animals. And we have had animals in the past. We just don't have any right now. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get away with that for much longer. We're probably going to need an animal soon.
It is interesting to see how things flow, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. I love animals too, but it's hard to, be gone for several weeks at a time.
But it's the whole bigger picture of choices, right? I mean, that's something with unschooling that I think when we bring that lifestyle into our family, we have kind of those bigger picture, wider ranging conversations, I think, right? The concept, it's not all just about, are you going to take care of this pet? Are you going to take care of this pet?
No,
it's just so much more about the lifestyle and thinking even from the pet's point of view. And, we're going to be away and, we go lots of races, mountain racing, all that kind of stuff. Like all those little pieces come into the conversation, don't they?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so now I think we would be very interested to hear how you discovered unschooling and what your family's move to unschooling looked like.
Yeah, I didn't even know anything about unschooling. I mean, I knew about homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about homeschooling when I was in school, and there were people in my area that had done homeschooling. They were very religious, which is fine. And it was just, they were at home because they wanted their kids to be in that way. And that's fine. I never thought about it again. And Roisin started school, elementary school, and she loved it. And so I just thought, it's what kids do. I have one kid and she loves school. And so we'll have the other kids and they'll love school and it'll be great. And she, as the school is, let me speak. It's very rural where we are, very, very rural. And the school is only 3 rooms. So all the grades of the elementary school, there's 3, kind of 2-3 grades in each of the rooms. So you'd have the same teacher for a few years in a row.
Yeah.
And the school that Roisin went to, the way that it was designed, it was very, very hippie school, art, music. They had an organic garden. Some of them were growing oysters in the sea. They had oyster beds. It was so much stuff going on, and it was an amazing time for that school. You know, they had book fairs. They really celebrated, you know, the holidays, and it was just all about developing children's curiosity and very, very little to do with academics. I mean, they had that, of course, you have to, but it wasn't about that. It was about, are you interested in an instrument? Then let's get one and play it. And the school had so many instruments to loan to the children. And there was a band, and she was in the school, you know, kind of traditional Irish band, and she played music, and it was just such an amazing place. And then the principal retired, and his wife, who had been there the whole time, and she was kind of the infants teacher, the kindergarten teacher, she also retired then very shortly after. And as Ronan was going into that school, it was a very big regime change, and Roisin was leaving that school and Ronan was going in, and he really, really enjoyed it. He could do the work. It was not a problem. He didn't do the work because he didn't want to, but he loved the social aspect of it. He loved all the social and the kids, and he was playing with all the kids. He really, really enjoyed that. And but the teachers had a problem because he wouldn't do the work. And then that, of course, that led to them sending him home with more work. And then that led to me sitting with him at the table going, you have to do this. And it turned me into a horrible person. And I was like, there got to be a better way. So he was in about 4th grade. And it was bad. And I said, look, we can homeschool. We can do this. You know, I didn't want to make him. Mm-hmm. I wanted him to be kind of his choice. I wanted him to decide, because it's not going to work otherwise. So I was like, look, we can homeschool. He was like, no. He loved playing with his friends. He loved having those social times. I said, okay, but that means you got to do this. So he said, he kept going, and he was in a classroom at that time with a teacher who they did not gel. And that's probably the nicest way I can say that. So they did not gel at all. And I used to work at that school because I taught art there for a couple of years. So I was working there at the same time, and I saw it. And he's not a person, he was never one to over exaggerate. And when he said things, I believed him. And then I worked there, and I knew what he was saying was true. So he had this teacher, and I thought, well, he's going to go into this next room.
Yeah.
So we were waiting it out. So he went into the next room, and it wasn't great, but it was better. And then his teacher was going to go on maternity leave, because they were all, the 3 teachers, they were all quite young, 3 or 4 teachers, and they all kept going on maternity leave, which is fine, you know, that's going to happen. But he ended up having about, I think I counted one time, 9 or 10 different teachers before he got to like 3rd grade, because of so many maternity leaves. You can't, there's no continuity. You don't, each different teacher wants something different. And there's a lot, they're small, they're young, they're very small, you know, going in there. And so anyway, he went into the other classroom. It was okay, not great. And then she was going to go on maternity leave the next year. And we were really, really hoping it was this one substitute he loved so much. Very kind girl. But I found out that it was, because I worked there, I found out that it was a different one who had also done a maternity leave in the other room, and it was not good at all. And I had gone to pick him up from school. I had found out, and I was picking him up from school, and he got in the car, and I said, this is going to be, I found out. And we both basically held each other and cried and cried and cried. The two of us, like, because I was so sad because he was going to be so, and he was so sad. And finally he said, okay, I'm done. I can't do this. And I was like, okay, let's do something new. But, you know, I'm very structured person, and we were going to homeschool, and work was going to get done, and we were going to get some books and have a curriculum, and we were going to do all this. I didn't buy a curriculum because I was going to be very lenient. So here in Ireland, you buy your own books. So you get a book list, and you have to go to the school book store and purchase your books, and they're all kind of workbooks. Mm-hmm. And I had the book list, and I said, look, we'll go. You can pick whatever math book looks fun, whatever English book looks fun. You pick which ones you think look fun. And I thought I was being really generous here. And my goodness, they're still sitting in the drawer. Unless I got rid of them, I may have just thrown them out. I don't know. And so he agreed to that. That was fine. And we started, because he wasn't going to go back in the September. We went home to Michigan for the month, and Lennon was a baby. And so, like, if you're traveling with a baby, like once I got home, I was like, I'm not turning around and going back after a week. So we were there for several weeks. So when we got back, we started in October, and, you know, at the table every morning and getting this work done. And I was creating like the questions, and he was answering them. And it was great for about a week. And then it wasn't great. It was getting in the way of what he really wanted to do. He didn't want to do that. It was just so in the way, and I could see what he wanted to do, and I could see there was value to it. So, but we plodded on. We plodded on because my husband, I mean, I was going to be very structured, but I was the one there with him, and you know, there was a bit of fear there. My husband was not 100% comfortable. So, you know, you got to take into account everybody in the family, how everybody feels about it. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just keep going. We had a very long Halloween break, and we had a very long Christmas break, and a very long midterm and Easter. And my daughter, who had gone all the way through school, she had loved her elementary, primary school experience. And she had a very, very bad secondary school, high school experience. It was bad. Very defeating, lost any confidence she had. And the girl was brimming with confidence, and it was gone, and self-esteem gone, everything gone. The social aspects of it, the way the teachers speak to them, like not even as if they're human beings, and actual accounts of teachers screaming at children. And again, like, it's a small community. You know, when it becomes known that that's what happens, I mean, they're not all lying. You know, they're not. It's what happens. So, anyway, she was graduating. So she was graduating from school in May. My mother and stepdad came over for the month of May, or 3 weeks. So when they came over in May, we just kind of stopped the whole homeschooling, because we couldn't possibly do it. They were here, and, you know, we had to go do things, and Roisin was graduating. And so after that, we just never went back. And I kind of knew we weren't going to go back, because all of that time that we were struggling with the homeschool book situation, I was researching and diving into anything to do with homeschool. And then, of course, you find unschooling. I'm like, we're not going to be doing that. No way. That's crazy. We'll never do anything like that. And of course, then I found your podcast, and I was like, well, you know, there's probably some merit there. Let's just listen, you know, and then starting to think these ideas are not that crazy. These ideas sound really, really nice. And I really want to do this, you know. Sounds like an amazing way to be and live and have your family. And So yeah, of course, you find all the ones, Sandra Dodd, and then I kind of latched onto your podcast and just, I think, inhaled it until I got to, present day, just like constantly going. And so I knew after the graduation and after we had gone on our summer break that we wouldn't be going back. And I had said it to him and he was all for it because I spent every day with him. So I was sharing everything that I would learn with him and say, what do you think about this? And how do you feel about this? And is that comfortable to you? Or is this comfortable to you? And we had this amazing relationship because what had happened in school was that I had become this other home teacher.
Yeah.
And I was this authority, and the relationship suffered. And he's such an amazing spark. That kid, that spark, and it was all but gone. And I wasn't having it. No, you can't lose. This is so amazing what you are. You cannot lose this. I will not allow it. I'm like, Mother Tiger came up and said, you are no, big no. But then we had to really rebuild. So we spent a long time of me just really validating, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew we needed to develop a relationship. And of course, everything in the podcast is all about relationship.
Oh, good. That comes across.
It comes across, yes. And when I really needed it, really needed it. So at the time, Lennon was a baby, and so he didn't know what was going on. I said, I don't know how we're going to say this to your dad. I don't know, because I call it the fear. He does have the fear a little bit, and he gets uncomfortable, and he wants what's best for his kids. He's not trying to be overbearing or kind of dominating. He just really wants to make sure that they have absolutely everything in the whole wide world that they possibly need. And he didn't know, because it's not like we're in a city. We don't have museums. We don't have great amounts of amenities. And I mean, we have nature and outdoors, but that's not Ronan's thing. So we needed to get him. And he likes spending time with his friends, but he wasn't a big social outside of school person. He's a home bird. He's an introvert. That's just how he is. And so he kind of led us there, and we've been ever since slowly moving further and further and further in that direction.
Wow. No, I really love that. And it does with your son. It sounds quite familiar to my son as well,
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It was grade 4. That was
right.
The teacher. And I remember even talking to other teachers about, like, there was just something about, now we mean business kind of deal. Anyway, right. Yeah. So that he was like 3 or 4 weeks in there. And then it was like, we have to find a different place. Now, I hadn't found homeschooling yet, so we found another school. But yeah, just seeing, like, this child and you see them in action, right? And you see that spark and you see that joy and you have so much fun with them. Yet that isn't the person they can see in the classroom, right?
You not see how amazing this kid is. He's so amazing. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm his mother, but I mean, they did a unit on the Titanic, and he loved it because it was the big anniversary, so whatever years ago it was.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He was reading as many books as he possibly could on it. He wasn't goofing off. He wasn't doing, and he got in trouble because the next week they had moved on to a different unit.
Yeah.
And he was still reading about the Titanic after he had done the bare minimum of whatever he had to do. He was sneaking to read about the Titanic, and he was caught reading about the Titanic. And he's like, I had my book taken away because I couldn't. I'm like, what book? about the Titanic. He was in it, you know, into the Titanic. It was big. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, we moved on to a different unit and he needs to follow. And
yeah.
oh, he wasn't ready to move on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and I love that I think that's a way that quite a few people come to homeschooling and unschooling is through the discovery that, you know, because they know their child and they love, you know, you said maybe I'm biased, but I think like all children are amazing in their own ways, right? And the parents can see, the mom, whoever's spending a lot of time with them can see that. And then when the environment's not a good fit in school, you can really, really just see that spark disappear, right? So that's so interesting. And, you know, hearing about your daughter who thrived in that, like, so it has to do with really with the personalities and how they learn and how they like to engage in things, and does it mesh with the environment itself versus
yeah, and I mean, she went exactly one size fits all.
Yeah.
And she went from this sort of arts-based school into the bigger school where that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And she floundered a lot. There was a lot of issues there. Big issues. And I had no idea that I could just say, get out of there. I had no idea. And then when we did find it, and she was in her last year, and I said, you want to quit? She's like, I've come this far. I have 1 year left. I'll just do it. And I'm like, well, just know from me that I don't require anything.
Yeah.
You know, we're there, choosing to be there. Do the work if you want. It's up to you. You got to find some happiness somewhere. So.
Yeah, no, that's right. And as you talked about with your son too, that it's his choice, right? You were giving him that option because, you know, certainly at that age, and that age is young, but for them to know, like, that is a huge piece to know all of a sudden that they have control. Like, even knowing, like your daughter knowing that she was choosing to just put herself through that last year to get it done because she knew what she wanted to feel like she had finished that since she'd gotten so far, you know, that I'm sure even that made a big difference to her in at least.
It was her choice.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd be curious to know. Go ahead.
I didn't want with him, I didn't want to say, right, we're homeschooling. I didn't want it to be a punishment.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you did something wrong. You failed that. So now you have to do this.
Oh, now you have to stay home because you can't manage that. And I didn't want it to be that way because that's not a good way to start. So
no, exactly. Anything. Well, that was it. I still remember the evening in March when I went around and told each of the kids separately, you know, so that they could really feel that it was their choice, not like getting caught up in someone else's excitement or whatever, you know, but going around, hey, I found out recently that you don't have to go to school. You can stay home and we can learn here. Would you like to do that? Does that sound something interesting to you? Yeah. So getting that level of choice, of understanding, of enthusiasm, you know, that was a big part of starting.
And each one, I'd say, had different questions. It would affect each child so differently. So, wow, that's great.
Yeah, no. And I remember being surprised at how differently they were all very enthusiastic, but over the next 3 days, you know, a couple of them just like dove right in, like no problem. And then my daughter was just like, wow, I can't believe I don't have to go to school. You know, it was just fascinating to see how they absorbed it.
Yeah, once Ronan was let go, once he didn't have to be at the dining room table anymore and he could just go, he's gone. He hasn't come back yet. He's still gone.
Well, I mean, and that's it. That's the other piece I remember too. It was, okay, well, let's just you started to find yourself saying, let's just get a little bit done here and then you can go. And then wow, that feels weird to say. And then you start noticing that, what I'm keeping them away from and how much they're learning from that. And it was really, really helpful in my deschooling process,
because we're going through it too. I mean, this is all new for me too. And I'm like, I don't know. Am I ruining him? What, is Lennon going to go to school? And that was a big question too. Like when Lennon, I was starting to, Lennon starts turning 4 and then he starts turning 5 and people are like, well, is he going to go to school? Is he going to go to school? I'm like, it's up to him. But he did, his cousins go to school that are his age and they make it sound like an amazing place. And it is fun at that age, super fun. But all I have to say is, well, you do have to get dressed every day. He's like, I'm out. No, not for me. So,
I would be very curious to hear what was one of the more challenging aspects of deschooling for you
the biggest challenge so far for me, and it is so far because you keep thinking, oh, I've got it now. No, you don't. There's another layer.
Yes, there's always another layer.
Always another layer. The biggest, for me personally, the biggest challenge has been making sure that my husband is comfortable with the choices that are happening. I don't want him to feel like I'm just taking over and this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But also I kind of want to take over and do this.
Because really, really, I want this.
If I'm really honest about it, that is what it is. So I really want to make sure that he's comfortable. So when I did say, I don't think we're going to do that again in September. And I would of course share with him as much as the parts of what I had been researching, but he hasn't read any of the books and he hasn't done any research and that's okay because I've been doing it and I'm the one who's here. And I would read him a few things that would make sense, or I would say, what about your own schooling experience, which wasn't fantastic. He didn't have a great time. He got through because of sports, but if it weren't for that, the rest of it was not great. So I have to keep reminding him of that. But he had what I call it the fear. So he gets the fear. So every time, we all do it every now and then. I mean, I don't know, was it on the network a few weeks ago? I was like, Lennon discovered YouTube. Ah! Yeah. And I got the fear. We're good with that now. It's fine. I just flowed right through. That's okay. But he does get it. And I think in the beginning, I was only new and I didn't know the words. So I would get kind of defensive and I would get kind of like, but, and I mean, now we've been doing it long enough that I can see it and I can just validate him and be like, yeah, it is a little bit scary sometimes. Sometimes it hits me too. And then I see that he's making a boat in Kerbal Space Program and see that he's fine. But one of the main thing for him when we decided I wasn't going to go back to me doing the homeschool and we were going to start unschooling was he said, well, he has to have a math class. He has to have math because then when he's 16, he can be an electrician because I'm an electrician and he can be an apprentice under me. I was going, what? Okay. But that was his comfort level. At the time, Ronan was like 12. So I said, Ronan, how do you feel about this? He's like, I don't care. It's fine. He didn't care. My brother-in-law, his uncle, is this genius math computer person. So I just set up a once a week class with him. And he's one of the kindest human beings on the entire planet. So I'm quite happy to pay him €20 for just, I don't care if you ever learn math, just be in his presence because he's really kind and nice and patient. And if I'm like, yeah, do that. Learn that. I mean, Ronan already is that, but he's just a really, really nice man. And so we paid for that until lockdown. But he is, his uncle, my brother-in-law, he is a dancer. He does Ottawa Valley dancing. He's from Canada. Oh. So he dances with the Chieftains, a big Irish group, and they tour the world. So there's a lot of music in this family and a lot of touring the world with people. So he tours with them. So he would be gone 5 or 6 weeks at a time. And even though Ronan enjoyed spending time with him, they were only doing Khan Academy. That's all they were doing. I mean, he could do it himself. But, it made my husband happy. And then when he was 16, he could take whatever equivalency he needed to, and then he could become an apprentice, but you have to be able to pass math or something along those lines. But then, so this is my big obstacle, is like, okay, so we've decided on this. And in my head, I'm like, it's not the way that's going to work out, but that's okay. We'll deal with that when we have to deal with that. And so about a year ago, and Ronan's 15 now, maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago, every now and then James will take Ronan with him to work because he'll need an extra pair of hands. If he can't get one of the guys that works for him, if he's on a different job, if he needs an extra pair of hands, Ronan will go with him. And sometimes Roisin would go with him. But Ronan was with him one day, and he came home and he said, "Do you know that Ronan is colorblind?" And I said, "Do you not know that Ronan is colorblind?" You're not aware of this? Because I've known this since he was 4 or 5, 6, and we were coloring, and he didn't care. And even in school with coloring, everything was either orange or brown. That was it. And, I would ask him to pass me something, and he would pass me a different color, and I'd be like, So, yeah, I do know that he is red-green colorblind. And he said, "Well, he can't be an electrician. You can't be colorblind." And I'm like, oh, darn. Oh, well, what are you going to do? But he hasn't said anything. He didn't say anything. I just said, "Oh, I didn't know that." He's like, "You can't be an electrician if you're colorblind." I'm like, well, I don't know if Ronan wants to be an electrician. But so he hasn't really said anything since, and he hasn't really brought it up. And but that's kind of we're not always on the same page, or we're not always in the same place at the same time. So that is kind of the big, for me, it's probably not for the whole family, but just for me, that's my biggest obstacle, is just making sure that everybody's comfort levels are respected. It's important to me that every member of the family, I don't care what age you are, that your opinion is heard, that your voice is heard, and that there's respect there. So, and that includes James, who is outside of the house a lot. So he does get left out of decisions sometimes, because like, "Hey, we're going to do this. Oh, you were at work. You don't know." So I really try and make sure that he's okay, because it's not nice. It's not nice to have that kind of anxiety and stress. And I want that alleviated as much as I can do. But then again, I can't do it all. Like, I'm not in charge of him. So he has to do that work himself. So, and he is. He really is. And he's pulled me up a few times lately when he gave Lennon a phone, and I was like, "What are you giving him a phone?" He's like, eh. So I'm like, "Oh, okay. All right." So.
Yeah, no, I loved a couple of pieces really jumped out at me. The first was about how so often we're not like in the same place. And I think that is so often true, in relationships too, is that like we are all unique, different people, right? And we're all learning different things at different paces, different things jump out
on our journey together, but it's our own journey, separate.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty rare, like whether it's about parenting or about, whatever topic, that we're all like completely in sync, So I
Right.
think having that expectation can get in the way too. Because the other piece that you talked about that I thought was awesome is, at first, when we're first learning, we don't have a lot of words. We feel more defensive because we don't yet have enough experience to really be able to explain and share examples and that kind of stuff. But then when you got there, you were able to start to join him where he was and validate what he was feeling, what he was seeing, and being able to meet him there to start to share little pieces and to understand where he might need some, like you were talking about, you found a way that your son could just hang out with his uncle, right? For an hour, that also helped your husband be comfortable, and that experience was working for everyone, and you guys were learning from it. Not particularly, the little bits of math were the least of the learning in there. It's probably what I'm trying to say, right?
And it's not, he doesn't struggle with it. I mean, he picks it up. It's the same story throughout all of any sort of actual schooling that he's had, is he can't do it. He does not interested.
Yeah.
And when he's not interested, good luck. He doesn't have that thing where the teachers used to say, well, will you do it for me?
Yeah.
No. No, I won't do it for you. I want to go play.
Oh, exactly. And that was the part too that I saw getting, worn. It's like, for how long can you still, hold your own ground and be yourself? Like, well, they made it through grade 4.
Right. And I mean,
it's
trying to hold on, but everybody's coming at you. It's a lot. And I think the other piece that I really want to, I don't know why I want to make a point of, is that I validate my husband as much as I can. And I had a real big thing where I needed him to be comfortable so that I could be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I've had to sometimes just let him be uncomfortable and let him work through it. And if it was a major thing, I'm so happy to talk to you about it. I'm so happy to find a common ground that will work with you and will work with me. But to be able to realize that his feelings, the same way that my kids' feelings, are not my feelings, and they're not mine to be in charge of.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to sit in it.
Yep. Oh no, I love that point. So, yeah. Because then what can happen too, I think, is if we're just quickly trying to react and get everybody comfortable as fast as possible, we can just be shooting back and forth, and it's just confusing and chaos for everybody.
I mean, I have enough going on in my brain. The age gaps between the kids, I mean, I have enough with making sure that all these, I've finally had to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, and as an example,
information as I have, I don't have any more information.
Yeah, and that was a really important piece too, like having those conversations and letting those conversations sit a little bit, right? Saying, yeah, you can validate, you can understand, you can have a conversation, we can share our perspective if they're open to hearing it, and it can sit for a while. Can say, let's think about this some more and see what happens. Let's kind of think about this and watch the kids through that lens for a little while, and bring it, and then have a conversation in a week.
That's the part that I struggle with, because I want everybody to hurry up and be happy.
I know.
And my husband, with James, and I know this about him, if there's something, he's a deep thinker. So if I want to plant a new idea, or if I want to I can't come at him and say, so I want to do this, I want to do this. He's like, it's too much. So I have to kind of say, this is what I'm thinking about this. I would like to travel here or travel there. He makes the money and he does the finances. It doesn't mean he's in charge of everybody, but he kind of knows where we're at, and he wants everybody to do all the things they could possibly want to do. He really, really does. He wants to make sure that everybody gets to do everything. But I might say, well, look, this might be a fun thing. And I have to stop talking and let him go with that. And 2 weeks later, he will come back with, well, if you did this and you did that, then you could do that. And then you could do this. And his idea is eight bazillion times better than mine. Yeah. always so much better. And I think I've got all the details worked out. And then he comes back and just blows me away. So I just kind of say, what about this? And he might go, oh yeah, right. Okay. But he'll come back and he'll say, well, what if you did that? And it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Such a good idea. So yeah, let's do it your way. But
right. And that piece we're saying, that's amazing. Right. And support. It is important to acknowledge those pieces, that we do well, to acknowledge all the little steps along the way and being open to changing. Like that was something I learned quick, to kind of know where I want to go or plant the seed in the direction I think I want to go, but not to like name the destination and the path that everybody needs to take. Right.
Right.
Something I learned looking at my kids, but it works with everyone, doesn't it?
And even I am like, I would like that. I don't know. I don't have to know how it's going to happen. I don't have to know.
It's beautiful how it unfolds. So.
And it's better, and it's in a better way than I ever thought would work. So I tend to just, I like to just let things go now. If I remember, sometimes I get all caught up in myself and then I have to go, put it down, walk away. Yeah. But that's my obstacle.
We're always learning and growing, aren't we?
Working with,
I know. I always just hope, well, hopefully next time I'll notice it faster before,
Right. That's funny. Yeah. Catch it quicker. Catch it before I start going, but, I wanted to.
Yeah. So what has surprised you most about your unschooling journey so far?
The biggest surprise when I first got into this, I was like, this is going to be great for the kids.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how much I was going to get out of it and how much James was going to get out of it, and how, like, by me loosening up and trying new things and not being perfect all the time, really allowed James to relax and be who he really is. And for me to just watch the kids and watch how they just naturally do this. And I just love watching all of them because they always surprise me. They're with how they handle disappointments or even happy times, how things get handled, how they handle their reactions and themselves. And it's just such a joy. But I am incredibly surprised how it's family wide, as opposed to just, well, we're just going to do this for the kids now and it's going to be great. And I don't have to do anything except for deschool a little bit, but and it becomes so big. And I think I appreciate everything more. I have so much more curiosity. I'm so much more interested in, what if we do this? What if we do that? If anybody asks me a question, I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's figure it out. Even if it doesn't have to be something you dive into, it could just be like, how does this work? And you look at it and go, well, that's how that works. Well, that's interesting. Okay. And you move on. Just a small thing. It doesn't have to be a massive, big thing. But how, when anybody, no matter what age, gets to have the time to be interested and spend time in their interest, how many little pathways that don't seem to match up. It seems like, where are you going? But they all do. It's great. I love it. I really do.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. The threads that you have no clue in the moment, right? But when you look back, you think, oh, that's where you were going. That's how that was connected. It is so fascinating, isn't it?
Right. Since I was in my 20s and I came here, I've been very, very interested in health and helping people. And since we started the unschooling is when I really, really got into it. And that's when I qualified as a kinesiologist. And I was a prana healer, but I started working and doing it because I had confidence of like, hey, I know how to do this. This works. This is fantastic. Energy, is great. And learning more and more about that. And then learning more about the kinesiology side, which is some of it's energy, but there's a physical side, a lot of physical things too, which I hadn't known anything about the anatomy of the body. And then all the nutrition I don't believe that one diet is right for everybody. Everybody gets to pick. And I happen to be a vegan. I was a vegetarian for 12 years, and then I decided I would try being vegan because I had an allergy to dairy. So a vegetarian with an allergy to dairy just eats eggs. So I'm done. I don't need any more eggs. I'm good. So, and then my daughter started getting into the veganism and the plant-based veganism. And then we both started getting into the animal side of it, the animal cruelty side of it, because that's not why I got into it for nutrition. Animals weren't even a thing. And then it's like, oh, wow, there's this huge other piece and massive. And, she dove in there. And my husband eats everything that I cook. So he is not picky at all. He's wonderful. And he feels much better when he eats that way. But both of my sons eat meat. And it is not a thing. They can eat whatever they choose to eat. Ronan cooks for himself. Now, I don't ever cook anything for him. I would, but he's quite happy. He cooks his own meals and has done probably for the past, I don't know, year. Maybe just started doing his own dinners and food. He eats at different times. 3 a.m. He's eating at different times. So I would always make stuff and ask him if he wanted it. And I still make stuff and say, do you want some of this? No. He'll make his own thing. But they eat meat. And I think when I was first learning it, I would kind of harp on about it. But no, it's like, you get to pick. I got to pick. Everybody gets to pick. It's a choice. So many choices. We have choices,
That one realization is so life-changing, isn't it? Just to realize, you know what? Everything really is a choice. And as individuals, we really can pick what makes the most sense and feels better for us. And the other big piece is that it's not a judgment if your choices change over time, right? That's the other
big you get to change. Yeah. You get to change your mind. I love that. I love it so much. That's a big one for me because once I decided that was it. But it's like you get to change your mind
without declaring yourself wrong.
Right. There's no wrong. Nothing's wrong. You just changed your mind.
Yeah.
Try something different. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's so nice.
It's very free. So I wanted to dive into your kids. There's quite a big age gap between them. So you had one who went to school right through high school, and one who left around grade 4 or 5, and one who's yet never been to school. So I found that really interesting because you must have found yourself in distinctly different seasons, of growing up with each of them, but all at the same time, right? So I just was hoping you could share a bit of your experience with that.
Yes, it's so interesting. I'm loving this. I just love watching what is going on. Because we had Ronan who had quite a bit of issues with his school, was very unhappy, and then he had a lot of healing to do and a lot of deschooling to do, and he has done all that, and he knows himself. He knows what he likes. He knows what he doesn't like. If I say, hey, do you want to go here? No. Or yeah, he knows. And he's not apologetic about it, about who he is.
Yeah.
And it took him a while, and he's there. And Lennon, because he just has been, he was kind of born into it, and he has known himself since the day he was born. I think everybody probably does, but we lose ourselves. But yeah, since the day that kid was born, you weren't telling him anything. And even now, sometimes you still have to do things, like if you have to get in the car and go home is what we have to do. And you can be upset about it. And I completely agree that it's upsetting that you don't want to stop playing with your cousin or whatever. But he knows himself, and he knows this is not what I want. And it's so nice for me able to go, I know you don't want this. I know this is the last thing that you want. This is what we got to do. And so we're going to do it. And we've stayed as long as we can, and whatever it is. So he is great. And we all just look at him, myself and Roisin specifically, because we've had all the schooling. And we just kind of look at him and be like, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that's like to just grow up and be loved and get to do the things that you love. And everybody says they're good. It's good. And, but anybody telling you, but you need to, but you have to, but you should. You don't have any of that. You just have people going, yeah, great. Have another Oreo, run around naked, play with your Legos. It's just such a different start than she had. I pretty much every single day he has a treat before he has breakfast. I want my treat before breakfast. All right. Okay. He eats, it's no problem. He eats everything because nothing is taboo. Nothing is good or bad. He eats it all. Whereas, even I still struggle with, I can't have that until I have this. And, I'm so much better now. I'm having whatever I want, but
those messages are still embedded in there. You have to do that through them, right?
He just doesn't have that. I'm sure to some degree it will get there, but we are living in a society that is that way. But he doesn't care. He's himself, and I like that, unapologetic about who he is. I just love that so much. And now, Roisin graduated, and then she moved to Dublin, which is on the other side of the country. It's a 3.5, 4-hour drive. She was not at home for the big work of the unschooling, of the deschooling.
Yeah.
She wasn't home for those first couple of years where the big work is done. She was off doing her things that she chose to do. And I was on the phone with her almost every day, making, it's your choice. You get to pick. You get to choose. Do I do this? Do I do this? What do you want to do? It's not a wrong choice. There's nothing wrong, but she wasn't living it. She wasn't in our home with that. So now she has come home for lockdown, and she got here before early March, I'd say. And that is what she's doing. She's doing that really, really deep deschooling of where you just sit in a beanbag and read your book for 3 days. And she's such an active person. And she's like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And I'm like, nothing. I have that look on my face of like, everything's going to be really good for you. It's all going to be good. Nothing is wrong. You read your book. And I've had to say, this is so, I love this, because when we were doing the bulk of the work, it was us. It was me. It was Ronan. Lennon was coming up. James was dealing with a lot of stuff. And we've kind of got past the big feelings. So now she's doing this, and I'm coming at it from a totally different plane. Yeah. I'm not kind of questioning myself. I'm immediately like, you get to choose. It's that simple. It really is.
Wow.
So
yeah.
And she's decided not to go back to Dublin, and she doesn't want to go back to her job that she had because it was taking away from the acting, which she really wants to pursue. And all these things are happening. And is so nice that she can be here and have this time and decompress and really figure herself out and get that confidence back and get that self-esteem and be able to then go back out into the world on her own terms. So I'm really excited, but it's so, it's different for me too. I'm looking at this as like a different piece being, well, she's older and she should help the younger ones. Whereas we were doing it backwards, Lennon just like was born and was like, ta-da, I'm amazing. Ronan got knocked down, but he got back up, and they're both like, what's your question? Do what you want. So it's we're learning from them, and it's just so funny the way that life does these things, the way that it goes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I found that so fascinating. That's why I wanted to hear more about that, because what an opportunity too for Roisin to be able to have this time, right? And to hear how that's going for her, and her curiosity too, like, is this okay? Like, that is just so beautiful. Like, I can just see, rubbing your hands with like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Just so happy for her to be able to have this space and to be able to see that, yes, it's okay to not go back. Yes, it's okay to, choose to keep working towards the acting that is something you want to pursue right now. Just being able to let her steep in all these possibilities, and just the idea of making these choices that she's like, oh, that's what I would love to do. Is that really something that I could? Yeah, that's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. Say yes. Yes, yes. Like when she first came home, she had her notebook. She loves notebooks. She loves all sorts of like pen and notebooks and, all that type of, she loves all the notebooks and the papers and the school supplies and all those things. So she always has them. So she had her notebook, and she makes these little boxes, and she makes these little things, and she checks off the boxes as she go every day. She's doing this checklist. And then she was, at the end of the day, I didn't go for a walk, or on my checklist, I wanted to finish that painting, because she paints sometimes. So I wanted to finish that painting. I didn't finish that painting. And I'm like, I think maybe you're putting more importance on your checklist. The checklist is a list of things that you want to do, but nobody cares if you do them. You're not going to get in trouble if you don't go for a walk, And then the things on her checklist were like cartwheels. Oh, I forgot to do my cartwheels today. And I'm like, really? What?
Yeah. What a big difference to see that it's not a have to list.
She's like, oh my, and I could see her brain going, oh, it's become about the checklist and not even about what the things on the checklist. It's become about ticking boxes. It's very schoolish, that whole like, tick all the boxes, do all the things, I'm perfect, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's about you were doing these things because you enjoy doing them. So if you didn't get time to do them, it's because you were really enjoying this that you were doing. And that's really good. It's not just okay. It's exactly what you should be doing. Yeah. So she still has her checklist, and she does love a good checklist, but she is fine if she doesn't get everything done. And they're smaller, I think.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So what is your favorite thing about the flow of your unschooling days right now?
My favorite is that we do flow. Just flow. I mean, we're renovating the house right now. You can see every Lego piece in the world is behind me. The new floors just got poured today. We had a leak. It was this whole big thing. How some of the floor had to be drilled up. We've been walking on planks for weeks and weeks and weeks because all the hardware stores have been closed and everything's been closed and nobody can work. And my husband did as much as he could, but like he couldn't get supplies. So, and we had to wait for insurance. And during a massive, massive renovation like that, in my head, I would just assume that, you have to make a lot of decisions. You have to make, okay, well, what kind of heating system are we going to put in? Well, what kind of tiles? Well, we have to repaint the walls and all these different choices, and people have really strong opinions. And it's just not been a problem. Everything, when we're walking on these huge big holes, and so we have to walk over these planks, we're all just like, okay, okay. And we had one time, I think these, when people renovate their houses, I mean, things can come to blows. People, I want this color, I want that color, I want, these tiles, those tiles are horrible. And these things that are not important become so important, and they're not important at all. And my husband keeps asking me, well, will we do it this way or we do it this way? I'm like, you're the plumber. I don't know. And my answer is always, whatever way is less stressful for you, whichever way is going to cause you less stress. I mean, if you want it to be really, really nice and that's the way you want it to be and it's extra work and you want to do that, then do that. If you don't really care about that part of it and think it's not necessary, then don't do that. Just whatever works. It's a big thing. Our whole house is in uproar. We've had to move out. I'm climbing through windows to do a Zoom call. And it's all just, it's not even just like that we're getting through it. It's fun. We're having fun with it. It's exciting. And we had decided on tiles, and he went to go, and they couldn't get those tiles, but he was sending me pictures, and it just was like, well, yeah, look at that one. I don't care. Get that one. Yeah. And there was one little hiccup about like we were taking a window out and we were going to make it into a doorway. And then that's what I thought we were doing, but the sink would have to move. And I'm like, well, he's a plumber. He can move that. And, but in his head, it was going to take too much of the insurance money. So we weren't going to be able to do that. And so he was trying to make it the way I wanted it by making it like a smaller doorway. And I'm like, why are you doing that? That's crazy. And we had our wires crossed a little bit. And I think it was a little blip. I think probably me being like, why are you being so weird? And he was like, well, I thought this is what you wanted. And it just was all over like before anything. And I kind of, well, let's just do it this way, the way we were going to do it originally. And he was like, okay, that's done. I mean, it's not a thing. We just flow. And I love that so much because I would tend to be, I have a lot of opinions and I have a lot of being right, or did have, recovering from being right all the time. And it's just so nice to be able to be happy and not be right, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All those little things, they are so unimportant. And it's so, what is important is the relationship. It comes down to the relationship.
I made you
every single time. So I think that started for me when Lennon was born. It was quite a tumultuous birth. I had a car accident and rolled my car into a lake, and I was fine. I walked away. I think I had a bruise. I was good. Miracle. And Lennon was fine, but they did an emergency C-section because they didn't know where the seatbelt was, placenta, this and that. And so, in the hospital for a few weeks, and he was fine and I was fine, but still we were there for a while. Just doesn't matter. When things like that happen, you just kind of go, but it's so easy to get swept back up into it. But when you have the unschooling, the learning and the deschooling that you've done, and you know what's important and you remember, and like that, you get to it faster. It's just really compounded that flow of yeah, can I take all these Legos and take them all apart and mix them all up? Sure. But I do, I do say, but you're not going to be able to find those pieces to go to this. And that's that, cause and effect kind of thing. But if that's what you wanted to do, go for it.
Yeah.
Do it. Who knows? Could be great. Could be amazing.
Right. Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much, Jessica. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Pam, for this whole podcast. It's really been great for our whole family.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And before we go, where can people connect with you online?
Oh my goodness. So many places. I do it online a lot. Let's see. I'm on Facebook at Jessica Bartlett Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on Instagram at Lenin's Keeper, all one word. And I should probably change that name. It probably doesn't sound very good. But I made my Instagram account when he was a toddler, and he was the first of my children to climb. So at that time, I referred to myself as his keeper. Is he okay? Where is he at? He had it. He was good. And so, at Lenin's Keeper on Instagram, but also on Instagram, I am the Diamond Cookbook, because that leads to the blog, which is thediamondcookbook.blogspot.com, I think.
Yeah. We'll put all the links in the show notes for people too, so they don't have to try and write them down while they're listening.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. So, if you're interested in some fun, plant-based, super healthy, but very, very, very yummy treats, and that's the blog. And it's on, those 3 spaces.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any more. I think that's enough.
I've got my breakfast cookie recipe ready.
Oh, how exciting!
Yes, I'm really looking forward to those.
Yeah, that's Roisin. That's her big prize. She made them yesterday too, so she's keeping us fed. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Jessica. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too, Pam. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.